So you can say your name, agency, and title through with IJM.
Okay.
I am Ellie Hamalian, and I am co-president with Jared at the International Justice Mission at UGA.
Yes. And I'm Jared Magnuson, and I'm co-president with that.
Can y'all give me a history of the agency as a whole and then the UGA chapter?
Okay. What I know about the UGA chapter is that it started 5-6 years ago, approximately. Don't really know dates. And it's just some students who are interested in starting a chapter, and we got a professor in the law school to do it, Dr. Beck, to be our teacher advisor, and we're still going.
And International Justice Mission is a organization that was founded by Gary Haugen in Washington, D.C. Gary Haugen was graduated top of his class from Harvard Law, worked for the Justice Department, and saw the need for an organization that fights modern-day slavery, and saw this need worldwide in many different forms. And so he started the organization, and now it's been 15 plus years, 20?
Almost 20 years.
Almost 20 years. And there's over 500 attorneys working worldwide for IJM, social workers, investigators, and then at their office they've got advocates, IT tech, just every position you can imagine. It's a multi-million-dollar nonprofit organization working out of DC now. So.
And then can you tell me a little bit about the population in which IJM reaches? Makes sense.
Well, they are there to stand up for the oppressed, and so that would include slaves, people that have had their property taken unjustly, people that don't have advocates for them in their communities. And this could be like anyone who is maybe a girl in a brothel, or it could be a worker in a rice mill, or a worker at a brick factory, or someone who's falsely imprisoned in Kenya, or the list could go on and on about who is oppressed. And the general term is slavery, but it kind of really stands more for just oppressed people, I would say.
Yeah. And in worldwide, IJM works in their field offices, which they have in countries around the world, from, like we said, Southeast Asia, South America, Africa, and Central America, and they work at these field offices with all these areas that Elliot said. They work the same way. They have a team of investigators at the field office which gather evidence about the rice mill or the brothel or the girl who has been sexually abused by a family member. They gather evidence, and when they've gathered enough evidence, they present it to the team of IJM attorneys, who then evaluates the evidence, decides if it's enough to go off of. Then they bring that to the local authorities, and they help the local authorities. They help them with the raid. They rescue the victims, get the victims to an aftercare facility, and then the attorneys work with the local government to move the case through the justice system there and get the offenders prosecuted so that they can no longer harm future victims. And in the process of doing this, they're also shaping the justice systems in these countries to better protect victims of violence.
And then can you tell me any statistics there are around human trafficking?
So the big number is there are 29.8 million slaves in the world today, which has gone up because recently the statistic was 27 million. And then there's a lot of statistics about where there's more slaves. The countries with the most slaves are Pakistan, China, and India. If you put those together, that amounts for 2/3 of the slaves in the world today. And even there are statistics related to Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
And
Atlanta has been identified as one of the top 14 cities in the United States for children engaged in prostitution. Atlanta, on average, each night in Atlanta, 100 juvenile girls are sexually exploited. And the average age for entrance into the sex industry, which is a huge problem in Georgia, specifically Atlanta, is 12 to 14 years old. and this happens specifically. We know these statistics working here near Atlanta, since it's in our own backyard, but nationwide in the United States, this is an ongoing issue, and all these forms of slavery that we have described are present in the United States, which may sound foreign to some people, but the statistics for forced labor are present, like in tomato farms in Florida, all the way to brothels and forced sex work throughout the United States.
So what are some efforts being made to resolve the issue? What are some of the efforts that IJM is making to resolve the issue?
I think just a lot of what he was talking about before, like the rescue, the aftercare, the investigation. But also what I want to point out is they've been doing research in Cebu, the Philippines, I think, where they tried to evaluate how the justice system was working before they kind of did these prosecutions and investigations. And so they did some research and found that the justice system was broken and traffickers were not being prosecuted, and therefore the prevalence of child prostitution was high. And then years later, I don't know how many years later, they did the study again after having prosecuted some traffickers, and the prevalence had gone down by like something ridiculous, like 70% or something like that. So I think one of the biggest works that they're doing underlying everything is making justice systems work, and that is really causing that's having preventative impact rather than just aftercare. And in addition to aftercare, IJM does a lot of aftercare, but so.
And IJM works worldwide in these field offices, like Ellie's talking about, and really that's their big focus is changing these systems to better protect victims, and because they see that although there's lots of areas to work on, if people do not have a system of government that can stand up for their rights and protections of just life and liberty and health from being violently oppressed, and these other things like aftercare and awareness and all these issues and education can't be done if there's not that protection first. So that's being done worldwide. IJM recently opened a new field office in the Dominican Republic in this past year. They also, on the home front in the United States, they work in D.C. to work to affect legislation and laws here in the United States to better help protect victims here in the U.S. and have the U.S. use its influence in the world to better protect victims worldwide. They do that through advocacy up on Capitol Hill, trying to influence and push bills through Congress to better protect victims, like the Violence Against Women Act. And recently, their bill that's going through right now is the Human Trafficking Prioritization Act. And this is a bill that would raise an already existing committee on human trafficking at the State Department to the bureau level, basically giving it a seat at the State Department level without increasing money or increasing the size of the committee. It's just basically giving that committee a more of power and more efficiency in the State Department. And so that bill is currently in committee, and IJM is really pushing to try and get that passed through the House and on into the Senate. Also, IJM works nationwide through universities like ourselves at the University of Georgia and chapters like us to raise awareness on college campuses and the surrounding communities through college campuses, also churches, schools, high schools. All these programs are designed to raise awareness about the issue of modern-day slavery, as well as raise funds for their operations worldwide and sign petitions to get laws like the Human Trafficking Prioritization Act passed. And they'll be having a nationwide event coming up in April called Stand for Freedom that will be at college campuses across the nation to raise money and awareness for slavery.
Can you tell me what are some things that make IJM unique from other organizations that are also raising awareness of human trafficking?
Yeah, I would say kind of what Jared said about maybe the government involvement. And again, also what I was saying, about the study that they did. They really want to know that what they're doing doesn't have little impact, or which is important. It's important to rescue victims, but to have a lasting impact and to really change communities and empower them and impact them in the long term. And it's hard to say. I don't know that much about other organizations, so sometimes it might be hard for me to distinguish, but I know that those are two things that I feel like make IJM unique.
I think another thing that makes IJM unique is a lot of the larger organizations that you hear working with modern day slavery today they're all doing great things, but this is a multi-faceted problem that has many areas that need to be addressed, and IJM is the only organization that I know of that is directly, like Ellie said, working in these countries to shape and affect the legal systems there and the government systems there to better protect victims. And even here in the United States, working with our government, it's a unique job that they do with their field offices where they have the investigative. It's much like its own little kind of mini criminal justice system that's there to positively affect the criminal justice system there. I know that in most countries they're helping the government along with these cases, but in, I believe, the Philippines, they actually have laws there that allow IJM to prosecute as attorneys on behalf of the state. And so it takes different forms in different countries, and they're really, it's one of the few organizations that's working worldwide to shape these government systems to better protect victims of violent oppression.
Yeah, and I would say also that at those offices, they've really done a good job of having locals lead the way rather than having foreigners come in and work in a country where they don't know the culture really. They just don't know fully what it is to be a citizen of that country. But they've done a good job of really just having locals and people of that country lead the way to justice in their communities.
It's actually very competitive for the attorney positions for IJM are very competitive nowadays because for United States citizens and attorneys, because they're looking for attorneys in these countries and investigators and social workers who are there to learn, and so that if IJM leaves, these are the citizens of those countries that are shaping that system. So.
And then can you tell me what y'all are doing here on campus and in the Athens area to just help either resolve the issue or raise awareness? Just tell me about what y'all do.
Yeah, our main focus is to raise awareness and to advocate with petitions and stuff and to fundraise. And we send all of our funds back to DC, and they do as they please with that. So the way we raise awareness is we have group meetings every other week on Thursday nights, and we talk about different parts of IJM, what IJM does, different facets of slavery, and what we can do about it. And then we all fundraise. One of the main ways we fundraise is through bake sales. We go downtown on Friday nights sometimes and ask people for donations for a baked good, and we get some money, and we send that back to UGA. Stand for Freedom. This is our big event of the spring, and it's another raising awareness, fundraising. We will be standing for 24 hours for the 29.8 million that are enslaved. Then in the fall, you want to talk about Jam for Justice?
Sure. Our big event for the fall semester is called Jam for Justice, and it's a benefit concert at the 40 Watt Club in Athens, where we have local bands come and play, and a large portion of the ticket proceeds go to IJM to fund their rescue operation. So it's a night to have fun with local bands and enjoy music, and the money being raised for the event is going to IJM, and it's also a night where we get to share about the issue of slavery, what IJM is doing, what other organizations are doing, and make people more aware of the problem and how they can get involved in a really fun way. And we really enjoy doing that. And we're also looking to, as much as we can, work with organizations in Georgia and Atlanta, like organizations like Out of Darkness that work out of Atlanta. Jeff Shaw, who's their founder, has come and spoken at our meetings, and we are looking forward to working with him in the future to do some poster campaigns to post the National Trafficking Victims Hotline in restaurants, rest stops, other business locations throughout Georgia, so that victims, when they're being trafficked through Georgia, can see that number and call for help. So we're looking with any ways that we can. Like Ellie said, our main focuses are fundraising, raising awareness, but in any way that we can get hands-on work with fighting trafficking in Atlanta, whether that be through Out of Darkness, supporting an organization like that, or doing a poster campaign or things like that, we're looking for those as well.
And we are, in the future, we would like to have a rescue team in Athens, because Out of Darkness does rescue operations in Atlanta, and they currently do not have a team in Athens, but you have to be 21 to do that, so we're hoping that by the time some of us turn 21, we're able to get that training and have a team to actually go and rescue a girl that needs help in Athens. And there's one more thing. Oh, I think also, we haven't really talked about this, but I think it's important to encourage mentorship programs, because I think that's, with Youth Sparks and stuff like that, they do a lot of mentorship, and just raising a new generation that looks at sex in a good way, and just slavery in general, and is aware about that, and but that's not something, I guess, really that IJM does. I don't know, I just figured that's something important.
It all sounds good. And then, how can the community get involved in Athens and at UGA, this community? Are there practical, I guess, what are the practical ways that the community get involved?
The community here in Athens can definitely, obviously for students, you can definitely come to our meetings. You can get our meetings. They're not just, they switch up. We try to keep it interesting, keep it fun, and so that people can learn and get hands-on experience. We do everything from, like we said, hearing about what IJM does in Southeast Asia to writing Valentine's cards to victims who have been rescued from the sex trade in Atlanta. These young girls, and getting to do that, which is a lot of fun. And we get to hear speakers come. We get to do bake sales, raising money. All these things are possible for students at UGA through our chapter and through other organizations on campus. And others that aren't on campus, like in the Atlanta area or Athens, with anybody who's interested, they can always get involved with IJM. They can be sending money. They can be, especially IJM does a lot of grassroots work with churches to get support. They can, obviously, IJM is a faith-based organization, and they will send out requests for what they need funding for and also what they need prayer for, and churches and other people can do that if they would wish. They can get involved with their legislation campaigns, like I talked about with this Human Trafficking Prioritization Act. People can act as, use their democratic power as a voter to call their congressman, to ask them to pass this legislation, tell them it's something they care about, and tell them they want them to be aware of this issue and make decisions and pass laws that are working to keep victims safe in the United States and abroad. And that's something they could definitely do. IJM has all the tools on their website, and other organizations as well. So really just becoming more aware, learning how to get involved through raising funds, and just looking up these organizations all have ways that even people who, everybody from college students to families to businesses, they can all get involved in different ways, and just a lot websites like IJM and organizations like that, Not for Sale, Free the Slaves, Out of Darkness is a local one. All these organizations have ways to get involved locally or nationally.
I think you covered it.
Do y'all post when, do you have a Facebook page or something that you post, when meetings are, if you're having Blake sale, or?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
We have, like us, IJM at UGA on Facebook.
Yep. And if you would like, you can also sign up for our listserv, and you will get all of our information, upcoming events, info from our meetings. You can also get, if you missed a meeting, we can email you the notes from the meeting, all that stuff, and we're always there to forward information for other organizations and all that. So yeah,
And
check us
then
out.
do y'all have any stories you want to say, or anything else y'all want to add? Any cool stories? I don't know, I'm just like brainstorming right now.
I'd say Jam for Justice is a cool story every single time.
Yeah, Jam for Justice. It started with basically 20 people, if that, upstairs in Starbucks downtown with an acoustic guitar, and that was the Jam for Justice event. And that's fine. Like that's what it was supposed to. That was a good thing. It was a small event, but it was an event where 20 people and whoever came to Starbucks that night got to hear about the issue of slavery and got to raise some money to go towards IJM. And we really started thinking about ways to maximize the awareness and also the money we raise through that event. And like I said, IJM is a faith-based organization, and we really prayed about it and put some thought into it, and we kind of just went for it. And we called and contacted the 40 Watt Club in Athens, and we're like, "Hey, do y'all do benefit concerts?" And they're like, "Yeah." And we were like, "Okay." And it was actually for a pretty reasonable price, and we don't have money that we can use on campus. All our money goes to IJM that we raise, and it was going to be about $500 to secure the venue for a benefit concert, and we had a donor just show up and donate the $500 for the event, and it was incredible. We had a great time. We had some local bands play, and it was a awesome, fun night. We'd never planned anything like that before, and we raised close to $1,000 that night, and got some awesome awareness done, and it was a lot of fun. And we actually had the opportunity to do the same thing again this past fall at the 40 Watt. Had more people come, raised once again close to $1,000, and had some bigger bands come. And our vision with that is to just keep going to wherever we can go with it, keep getting bigger artists, bigger venues, and to attract more people, to maximize the amount of awareness we can raise and the amount of money we can send to IJM. So it's kind of like our baby. Yeah. IJM's baby, Jam for Justice at UGA. So we should probably get that copyrighted. But Jam for Justice is great. We love it, and we just really have loved what it's grown to be, and we just can't wait to see what's in store for future years. So
yeah, I'll say the June on the Line thing was kind of cool.
Yes.
An intern, I guess, at Wesley got a hold of Jared to try to see if we could get together with June on the Line, because they kind of support IJM. They played at Jam for Justice and at University of Alabama. What are you going to say about that? University of Alabama?
Oh, yeah.
Go Dogs.
Go Dogs. We don't want to talk about that.
But they ended up wanting to meet up with us, and we had dinner with them, and it was just really encouraging to know that there are people out there who are, getting bigger and still do care about this and care about this issue and want to support us. So that was a cool thing.
And it's been cool this year just to see the little things. Our organization has grown. Several years ago, we started with, it was a smaller group, probably averaging about 15 people a meeting. And we have really grown this year. We did a lot of work with publicity at the beginning of the semester. We have gone out and gotten the word out with flyers, posters in the freshman dorms, all this stuff this year. And so it's been cool. Go to the meetings. We'll have 30 people there, and we'll ask people, "How'd you hear about this? How'd you hear about it?" And they'll say, "Oh, we heard about the poster at the freshman dorm. My friend heard about it at their campus ministry, or I saw it at Tate, and we came out." And it's like, hey, publicity works. So it's been really cool this year to see it grow and see people really get interested and get plugged in and really enjoy what we're doing. So
awesome. It's a wrap.
Cool.